Well, you all know that I love doing the comparison videos, the hammer versus hammer videos, where if you keep an open mind, you just might figure out that you like something a little bit more than you thought you did, or at least you'd be willing to give it a try to see if you can perform better with it. So today we're going to be talking about the Gen 5 MOS from Glock right here, the flagship pistol that they offer, tons of law enforcement security work, and the Walther PDP in the full size. So the newer kid on the block with a lot of options to offer that a lot of people are really digging. The goal of today's video is to give you the basic details and specs, but talk about how they feel on the range, the differences that separate the Glock from the Walther PDP. And of course, like I said, keep that open mind to see if you may be interested in something over the other, or if you're looking for your first purchase, hopefully this will give you a little bit of help. Before we get into everything, a huge shout out to Flatline Fiber, big supporter of the channel. Now, Flatline Fiber makes those sexy soft goods for your hard use items, whether you are looking for a sling, an ear pro wrap, a brace wrap, or even maybe a dump pouch to use out there on your belt on the range. All of their stuff is USA made. Good people over there. Check them out at flatlinefiber.com. Use code TC10. You save yourself 10%. All right, let the butt hurt begin. And we're gonna start with the range footage today. Do something a little different. And we're gonna start with that Glock 17. So I'm pretty sure you've all probably seen these out there in the world. Tons of law enforcement use when it comes to the 17. Talking about this thing out on the range. Now we know Glock is one of the most durable, reliable pistols out there on the market. And you can run these things super fast, way faster than I'll ever be able to run them. Some of the competitors out there that use these things. It is a very simple and easy platform to break down, use, clean, do maintenance on, all of that good stuff that we know. Now on the range, the recoil impulse is very easy to deal with. It has a very low bore axis and you can get super quick follow-up shots. The magazine exchanges on the Glock are very easy once you get that grip angle down, and you can run everything from bear drills to bill drills, just screaming speeds as long as you're practicing and doing everything you need to do out on the range. The one thing I will say about the Glock, the aggressive grip angle throws a lot of people off, and you have to really force your wrists and lock them out in that forward canted direction. That may or may not work for you depending on how much wrist injury you've had or just the natural ergonomics of your body. But once you can get that grip down and you lock your wrists out, it's actually a big positive, helping you control the recoil, get super fast follow-up shots, and keep that muzzle pointed right at the target where you want it. And I have to say, the Glock probably has the biggest aftermarket following for any pistol I've ever seen out there. Whether you want triggers, mag wells, slide work, just anything. It seems to be that everybody is doing something for Glock, and you'll probably find a different connector in your grandma's attic when you're cleaning it out, because even grandma got herself some Glock parts up in there to play around with. Now the PDP, that thick, sexy little girl right there with all that huge serration work going on. I can't lie, this thing is like a new sweet honey for me. I am digging the way that it feels out there on the range. Now right out of the box, the PDP has to be one of the best feeling pistols to actually hold in the hand. The only thing I can compare it to is the VP9. The VP9 seems to melt in your hand like a half melted stick of butter. Feels absolutely great. The difference with the Walther is that feeling continued out on the range for me. The trigger on the Walther out of the box is one of the best on the market. A lot of people talk about the Canic trigger. That's actually a Walther trigger. The trigger feel, the break, the reset, it gives you just about everything you can expect out of a non-performance factory trigger. Now, Walther also does have their performance series out now, and I have to say that trigger's even better. But right out the box, the PDP has a trigger that just lights it up on the range. Walther's PDP is also probably the most natural feeling pistol that I have ever used out on the range. It comes so close to taking that natural loving feel of the 1911, but it just can't quite do it because it's a polymer striker fired pistol. But I will say everything from the grip texture, the angles, the thicker backstrap that comes up high into the web of your palm, it just feels extremely natural. Now you can run this thing like a Banshee out there. It is a very fast pistol, And I will say the angles of it being so natural helps with the magazine exchanges, the follow-up shots, because it's just something about the whole package that returns to zero so fast, unlike other pistols for me, where even though the Walther has a little bit of a higher bore axis, that return to zero is just like nothing else I have experienced. Even though I can feel a difference in how it shoots, it's like by the time I even realized that feeling, the sights were already back on target. And that's a lot to say because the Walther is one of the lighter striker fired setups out there compared to a lot of others. A huge positive with both of them, you get 3 mags, which is my magic number because these are both really geared for not only all of us out there every day, but they really try to market both of these to law enforcement, security, military. You gotta have 3 mags at least when you're coming to that. 2 on the belt, 1 in the gun. And that's just really how it should be for any pistol sold. You should get 3 mags. So for the love of God, give us all 3 mags. And wrapping up on the custom end of the Walther, it's not like Glock yet. It doesn't have that massive aftermarket following. However, Walther themselves are coming out with the Pro model, which gives you all the options, the taller sights, magwell, different base plates on the mag, a better performance trigger. So Walther themselves is taking it upon their engineering to put out a performance pistol line, whereas Glock leaves that to the aftermarket. So depending on how you look at it, that's a positive or maybe just a neutral. Either way, you can get all the goodies you want for either of these pistols, and I foresee the PDP market growing quite a bit more in the near future. So for my spec people out there, let's take a quick look with some elevator music to the specs. So before we get into that sexy up close footage talking about some of the features that set one apart from the other here, to finger groove or not to finger groove. Seems to be that people are solely in one camp or the other, and there's no in between. Remember, keep an open mind. Well, let's take a good look at what my buddy Jonathan from Tactical Toolbox calls the touch points. Now the touch points, if you don't know, are going to be where your hand actually interfaces with the pistol. Let's start with the grip comparison between the Walther and the PDP. Looking here at the Walther, you're gonna see a very nice grip texture that is wrapped around everywhere on that grip where your hand is going to possibly touch it, following through the front strap, the sides, really high up into the palm area. You've got a lot to work with. Now taking a look at the Glock 17 Mos Gen 5 here, you will see Glock dot, looks like Dippin' Dots on a pistol. And it's there. Nothing really great. It will do the job. It is all the way around it, but it does lack a lot to be desired when it comes to the overall texture and being able to really hold on to that thing, especially if you were out there doing a lot of hardcore training in inclement weather, whether it's hot, raining, anything like that. You need as much grip as you can get, and that's why a lot of people turn to the aftermarket for stipple work on pretty much anything that's polymer. Well, let's talk about pushing buttons in the way of the magazine release. We'll take a look at that Glock. It's the standard Gen 4, Gen 5 Glock thing. It's a little bit squishy on the inside edge. Overall, will get the job done. You got serrated texture on there, nothing wrong with it. Moving over into that Walther, you're gonna see you have a very nicely knurled, round, and slightly larger magazine release that seems to have a much more positive feel to me. Probably because it's metal, it doesn't give or kind of bend or bow as much as the polymer on the Glock does. They're both single-sided magazine releases on the Glock and the Walther, but the Walther does have that positive feel, and it's definitely got a nice area around it where that trigger guard kind of comes up and blocks it off from your hand accidentally bumping it. Now when we move up into the slide controls there, whether it's a stop or a release or both, because it's meant to do both, it seems to me that on the Walther it was a forethought rather than an afterthought on the Glock. Not to say you can't use the one on the Glock, and I use it all the time. I'm a big proponent of using the slide stop and slide release on there for both of those functions. But you get a little bit more meat, a little bit more area, which can be good or bad, because if you've got bigger hands, bigger palms, or a super high grip where you just get all of that flesh up in there, you could accidentally activate either of these no matter which control is on it. However, the Walther just gives you a little bit more. They're both ambidextrous. You got texture on both of them. You got a little bit of protrusion on both of them. And either way you slice it, they're gonna give and do exactly what you need them to do out on the range. All right, now moving on to grabbing it and working it. I don't think there's really a fair comparison here. You look at those super terrain serrations, I think they're called, on the Walther. Those things are big, they're gnarly, they're easy to get a hold of, front, rear, it doesn't matter. You can grab a hold of that thing with even just your palm smack on it, and it's gonna get into those serrations and you're gonna be able to run it. But they're not overly sharp, so they've done a good job on the machine. The extruding process is what they're calling it. Overall, well done. With the Glock, we get Glock serrations. We get front serrations, we get rear serrations, but they're kind of that standard, you know, very minimalistic serration that's on there. Very usable. We've got away with using them for a very long time, but there is definitely a massive difference between the absolute caverns on that PDP slide as compared to the Gen 5 MOS. When it comes to the optics mounting system on both of these pistols, it's kind of same, different, you know, 6 to 1/2 dozen to the other, unless it's a baker's dozen. They're both mounting systems. So you're gonna get a plate no matter where it's made, you're gonna throw your chosen optic on there, and that's how it is. Neither of the slide has a specific mill and drill on it, so you're gonna deal with a plate, multiple fasteners, and a little bit of higher space. Although I think the Walthers does sit a little bit lower in there because of how they were able to mill out that slide. More in the same, different category, you're gonna get interchangeable back straps with the Gen 5 and Gen 4 Glock series, and you're also gonna get those interchangeable back straps with the Walther. The Walthers slide in and pin in, whereas the Gen 5 MOS just kind of clamp shell over, and then you use the bigger trigger housing pin. So either way you slice it, you get a back strap change out of both of them. It just depends on which kind of angles you like. Now moving into some of the things that are, again, really different, you're gonna get a few more slots for that rail space up front. With Glock, the Gen 5 specifically, you get one slot with it, and it is the 1913 Picatinny size, whereas with the Walther, you're gonna get multiple slots. So you can put all of your lights, lasers, bayonet attachments, whatever you want, whatever you can't stick on there, or design for yourself, should you be into that 3D printing game. With the Walther, you're gonna get a very kind of wide, like duck build back strap up there when it meets the slide. Gives more surface area. The Glock is pretty standard for Glock. The more surface area, the more contact, the more texture, the easier it is to control recoil impulse. I think everyone pretty much knows that. That's just another slight difference between the two pistols. When it comes to the quality of both of these, I don't think you can say anything bad about either. There is not one that stands out over the other, even though one may feel better than the other to you. I think that we've reached the point with both of these companies where they are at the top of the game when it comes to the quality control and the product that they put out. So I don't think we're gonna have any bones to pick with either of these, whether it's coatings, machine work, the polymer work. They're both top notch when it comes to manufacturing. And finally, between the two of these, the accuracy. And I can tell you right now, the big winner in accuracy is both pistols, because me and you are the ones that are not accurate when it really comes down to it. Both of these things are gonna outshoot pretty much any of us. These things are capable of more accuracy than any human being is possibly capable of mastering, because it's just not possible. Our mechanics, working with the mechanics of a pistol, don't allow us to be as accurate as that thing can, because if you lock these things in a vise, you could shoot these things very accurately. When you input a human into it and we start doing crazy stuff with our hands and slapping triggers and bending wrists, you're not gonna get the accuracy. So the accuracy between these two, it's up to you. And if you're not training and you're not having fun and you're not learning, you're not gonna have good accuracy. So who are my Glock guys and who are my Walther people, and who are the ones in the middle that are just willing to keep an open mind and look at something different, or who is PDP curious? I really wanna know from you guys in the comments. Are you in one camp or the other? Or do you have that open mind and are you willing to try new things? Well, that is what I have for you all today. If you guys are interested in any of that stuff you saw, I will put links to the build list on the blog at tacticalconsiderations.com. Check all that stuff out. It all really does help the channel, along with all of your comments, your likes, your subscribes. Massive support here for the channel. The channel is growing a lot, and I thank all of you for that, especially my Patreons. You guys are absolutely awesome. And because I want you to get out there on the range, have some fun, and try these for yourself to see which one you're gonna like. I'm not gonna hold one up, I'm gonna hold both of them up. You guys get out there on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.